I am 25, my wife is 22, and we have a 1-year-old child. It all started about 5 years ago. In a pretty unexpected way, we happened to be part of the same local network and started chatting. Eventually, we decided to meet. As soon as I saw her, I was smitten. She was tall, slender, and stunning. I thought to myself, she's the one. I wasn't lacking confidence and was sure other guys would think the same. Guys were interested, but in the end, I was the lucky one. I felt like I'd won the grand prize. We spent a year and a half in perfect harmony, really soul to soul. Things were so great that neither of us had eyes for anyone else, and my family loved her too. I was her first, and we were happy in every sense, even in bed. So I started thinking, why wait? Why not move on? If you're happy together, it's time to take the next step. We got engaged and spent a year planning our wedding. It was even better than I'd imagined. Then 2 months before the wedding, I got a job offer in a neighborhood city. We agreed it was the right move. One day, though, she asked if she could go out with some guy from the local network just to chat. I figured we're not married yet, and I'm not one to tie her down. I agreed, knowing that if she really wanted to go, she would, with or without my say so. But then I found out their walk was more of a romantic evening, a park, a bonfire, and all those smiles and the photos they even had, and it was just a bit of fun. But that was that, and everything was back to normal right before the wedding. Tragedy struck. My family and I had to rush back home, and suddenly I was the only man left to keep things together. Despite the timing, we decided to go ahead with the wedding. The dress was bought, the venue was booked, and my dad really liked it. After the waiting period, I'm now married and living with my mother. Anyone in this situation knows it's a powder keg waiting for a spark. My father was more than just my dad. He was my best friend, mentor, and role model. I hope to be even half the father he was to me. My relationship with my mom was more formal. We barely spoke, to be honest. We weren't exactly best friends, and I got a call and was offered a promotion in another city. We decided that this was a chance to start over, so my wife and I moved to my hometown. My job was bothering me, but at least I was with my mom and my sister. I threw myself into work, sometimes staying there around the clock. I figured the family needed a better life, an apartment, a car, and so on. My wife seemed fine with it and supported me. I even managed to get her a job at the gas office through my sister. Everything seemed stable, so we decided it was time for a baby. We thought it would only bring us closer. After a week, though, after a long vacation by the sea, we returned home, and soon she became pregnant. However, everything began to change. She seemed distant, but I attributed it to the pregnancy. I assumed all her energy was going into raising our child. At the same time, I noticed she began talking more often with a guy she had met before. I understood that it was just a quick hello or goodbye, but I trusted her and didn't think anything of it. When our child was born, everything in the family shifted. It's been 6 months now with practically no personal life between us. Sometimes I take her to her mom so she can have some support, while I bought a 1-bedroom apartment in the city, and over the course of a month renovated it into a 2-bedroom. Over the course of a month, we transformed the bedroom apartment in the city into a 2-bedroom property. We also got a new car to make it easier to travel with the child. Loans started to pile up, and I was working nonstop. She was always on the go, bouncing between her mom's and our place. Everyone seemed happy enough, but with the baby and work, our relationship was pretty low-key. We'd get an hour or two alone when we were in the city with her mom, watching the child for a bit. Then came the long-awaited day. I went over to spend a couple of days with her and I was planning to take her out for a romantic evening, but when I picked her up from her mom, she seemed totally out of it. I thought she was just tired, but it turned out she'd been drinking while breastfeeding. When I confronted her, she admitted to drinking. Not exactly romantic. I thought I told her I'd speak to her mom about it, because I thought it was unacceptable. However, I kept my disappointment to myself. Later that evening, when she got back to the city where I work, she told me she'd been drinking, not with friends, as she'd said, but with James. Let's call him that for now. They were celebrating the purchase of an apartment. I was upset, but I tried to keep it together. I thought to myself, I sometimes drink with my friends. I'm not perfect either. So we made up. A month goes by, and it's our son's birthday. The next morning, I find I saw her watching a bicycle commercial in the kitchen. She's never been into cycling, but James is an avid cyclist. She started hinting that she might like a bike. I've always been interested in cycling, so I didn't pay much attention. However, it seemed Strange, so I opened her messages. I had never looked at them before, only when she had shown me something herself. This time I read their correspondence. It was all clearly from him. There were details about how they drank that evening, celebrating the purchase of an apartment we had made a year and a half ago. From the messages, I could see they'd been drinking together at his place. She didn't go further with him because he was too drunk. She said she trusted him enough to let him drive her home. The most painful part was that they'd finished off our sambuca, the one we'd bought it to enjoy together. From the messages I saw, there was no way I could read on. I was angry. This is not an isolated date between them. She is accompanied by her mother, who supervises the child, and accompany her to cafes or his apartment. Interestingly, a week before conception, she went to his house and drank red wine and smoked a hookah, likely to ensure the health of the future child. I'm quite furious. I sent her to her mother and have been thinking about it. She doesn't apologize and behaves as if nothing happened. I'm quite upset. My wife reassured me that I was her first man and that I had a child, but she never mentioned anything about having a child. She stated that she was bored while I was working and wanted to go on adventures. I only know what I read in their correspondence. I am curious whether she slept with him. Does sex important in dating? Is kissing and lying treachery in this situation? The kid is preventing me from slicing his neck, but it's difficult to live with such knowing. I'm not sure what to do next.